I'm a bird. Feel fit, feel fit. I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was 5 years ago when I bought this beautiful leopard plant, and I didn't know how to care for it, but I wanted it to thrive so badly. But each day the plant just became more and more limp, and I was ignoring these signs that my plant was giving me until one day it just died. Hello, I'm Fiona from Feline Jungle. I live in an urban jungle in New York City with 150 plants and my 2 cats. Growing up, I never really had a green thumb, but through my botanical journey, I am able to find a lot of joy in indoor gardening, and I love sharing my experience and plant styling tips on social media. So subscribe if this is what you're looking for. In today's video, I'm going to be going over warning signs that our plants are trying to communicate to us that they might be dying. So if there was a warning sign that I missed, please share it in the comment section. When I try to bring a new plant home from the plant shop, I like to lift the plant out of the pot to check on the roots. If I can't do that, then I like to check on the roots while I'm repotting the plant at home. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm trying to check for root damage. Roots itself is really very hard to look at because it's hidden in the soil, but roots play a very important function for the plants. It anchors the plant in place so that wind and water cannot knock the plant down. The root system also carries water and nutrients from the soil to other parts of the plant. So if the roots are damaged, then these nutrients and water cannot be delivered to the leaves or the stem or to any flowers. Roots can be damaged by overwatering, fungal infection, pest infection, or over-fertilizing. And here are some physical signs you should look out for when looking at the roots for damage. If the roots are brown and it's mushy and it smells bad, then it's most likely rotten and it no longer serves a function. If the roots, on the other hand, is dry, it's probably dead and it also no longer serves a function. If you're looking at the roots and you see it's hollow in the center, and especially if you see like insects crawling in and out of it, then that means it's already infested with pests and you should definitely cut them off. Then I recommend that you switch to a clear pot so that you can see the roots, so it's no longer hidden in sight and you can always monitor the health of the roots. For example, I like to keep my anthuriums and orchids in clear pots because they have a more sensitive root system and they're also thicker, so they're prone to overwatering. With clear pots, I can really monitor the health and understand when they need water and when they have enough water. This is my mini propagation station. There's a lot of cuttings here and they're mainly Hoya cuttings because they tend to do really well in water propagation. Just ignore the algae that you see on the bottom here. It looks very disgusting, but it doesn't affect how the roots are developing, and you can see that the roots are doing really well. One thing I did notice with cuttings is that the new growth will shrivel up, and you can see this with my Australia Lisa over here. This whole branch shriveled up, and this is because it needs to retain a lot of energy to develop these roots. This is perfectly normal with propagation, but if you see this with potted plants, this is usually a sign of root damage. So the first thing I would do is take the plant out of the pot and check on the roots. And if there is root damage, you want to cut it off just like how we talked about before. Another thing that might be causing this issue is because your soil is too old, so it doesn't have enough nutrients. So maybe it's time to repot your plant in fresh new soil. I found this plant that I completely forgot about. It was in this random area in my house. This is my bear paw succulent. First take on it is growing really nicely. It's growing tall. There's new growth, new leaves coming out. Look at these cute little tiny leaves. It's even branching out over here. Even though there's some dead leaves over here, I'm not that concerned because there's new growth on each branch. But actually, if you Google what a bear paw succulent is supposed to look like, this is a completely unhappy looking plant. You can tell by the small paws. Each one is becoming smaller and it's not becoming that full-fledged cute bear paw that you would usually see. Each one is just kind of becoming more and more tiny that you can't even see these little paw prints on it anymore. And The fact that it's branching out and growing so tall is actually very abnormal. This plant is actually experiencing what's called phototropism, where it's straining for that light in order to maximize the amount of light that it can get. And you can tell that it's all going towards this one direction because my window is this direction. And at first you might not think much of this when a plant is stretching for light. It's actually pretty normal, but it can be a very deadly sign. These plants will not get enough light and it will lack the nutrients and energy and will eventually die because of that. Now this plant is not in that deadly stage yet, but you can tell that it's just very unhappy because this fuzz is becoming matted. It's very soft to touch. It probably does not have enough nutrients and energy to create bigger and more fully fledged bare paw leaves. You can see this a lot with succulents. You can put it closer to a window or your next light source. In deep parts of my house that does not get enough natural light, I rely on grow lights so that my plant can grow properly. The opposite can also happen where you give your plant too much light. This leads to sign number 4, which is your plant looks dull or bleached out. If your plant looks dull or bleached out, you're probably giving your plant too much light. Just like people, plants can get sunburned, and especially if you place the plant too close to the window, the glass intensifies the heat and the light that it gets. And when that happens, the plant is damaged and it will be harder for it to produce energy to survive. For example, my variegated Hoya caryi, I recently put it closer to the window because I thought it needed more light, and it burned the crap out of it, and you can totally see the burn marks on the plant. Another factor that plays into this is also having enough air circulation so that your plant is not just cooking in hot air. That happened to my succulents that I put in my glass terrarium. I thought it would really enjoy the heat and the light, but it was just cooking in there, and eventually it had a lot of sun damage. Pull your plant back gradually into areas that are more shady. You don't want to put your plant in shock by putting it in an area that is completely dark from an area that had so much light. This will have opposite and negative effects for your plant. Also, do research to determine if your plant even requires that much light. For example, caletheas, they naturally grow in more shadier areas, so never put that in direct sunlight. So it's really important to just do your research and understand your plant. For my Hoya caryi, I kind of just put it in the original spot where it was doing really great to begin with. I don't know why I moved it, but right now it's recovering and it's showing signs of recovery by giving me a new leaf. Do not ignore the tiny dust and random holes that develop in your leaves. Most of the time we brush it off as cosmetic damage, but you might have a pest problem right under your nose and you don't even know it. Depending on what kind of pests you have, they can really destroy a plant in a matter of days. And the most annoying thing about a pest problem is that it can spread to your entire collection. I've had a really bad case of thrips before. If you don't know what thrips are, they are these blood-sucking insects that suck the juice out of your leaves. And more annoying thing is that they can actually carry different types of viruses and diseases that can make it worse for your plant. Mature and healthy plants can handle a pretty heavy infestation, but if you have like a young plant, they are more likely to die. Some of the more common pests that you will come across is probably spider mites, scales, and mealybugs. Yeah, they're not fun. The best thing you can do is set up a pest preventative routine. I actually have a video if you want to check out my routine. You can also clean your leaves regularly, so before it even becomes a problem, you kind of just wipe off all the pests. If you're panicking because you've been ignoring these warning signs from your plants, you're not alone. I've been struggling with killing houseplants too, and my solution is to better understand basic plant care, and also to monitor my plant's health regularly. If you need a well-designed plant journal, I got you. I designed this plant journal that is fully customizable with helpful trackers for propagation, repotting, and pest disease control. And it's pretty, and it's available on my website at felinejungle.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. I only mentioned a couple signs that I used to miss as a new plant parent, but there are a ton of different signs that our plants are trying to communicate and to warn us. So let me know in the comments below of other warning signs that your plant might be giving you. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my newsletter at felinejungle.com/subscribe. My newsletter will be covering plant styling and plant care tips that is exclusive to my Feline Jungle community. Thank you so much, and see you next time. Bye! Oh, now there's no birds when I'm done filming for the video.